time to beat the mind game. Now it's time to beat the mind game.
Hey there, I just finished this amazing game called Prey. I played the first one, which came out in 2006, loved it so much that I couldn't wait for this game to come out. And let me tell you, this game is absolutely amazing. I loved every little bit of it. I spent about 50 hours in it with all the side missions included. So if you haven't picked up this game yet and you are not sure if you should, this is basically a story about a really fancy spaceship that's kind of like the Titanic up in space, and all of a sudden it gets invaded by aliens and you have to figure out why and what happened and basically make your way through the whole ship. And what really impressed me is how the developers managed to make a game like this an open world game, basically, because you can go anywhere you want and you can backtrack whenever you want as long as the doors are unlocked, and then you can go back and collect things and find things that you missed the first time around. And what also blew me away is that you could actually go outside of this ship, and it felt very scary to be out in an open space just floating around, being scared that you get pulled away from the ship and you can't make it back. And to me, playing this on a 120-inch screen, it often felt so realistic that I was gasping for air, thinking that I'm running out of oxygen, but that was not the case, of course. And in addition, there are plenty of enemies that try to attack you, and missions and side missions and loot. And of course, this is a very good way to take a shortcut to another level or to another part of the ship. So instead of going through all the different levels, you can just go around the ship, as long, of course, that the hatches are open, and that's always a concern. And the best thing in this game is the quick save, which avoids so much frustration, let me tell you. And you are able to download maps so you can see where you are, even though I did not make so much use of the map, because a lot of times it just was more fun to just kind of run around and find your own way. It's just once in a blue moon, it's good to have a map if you're turned around or not, but you definitely don't need the map as much here as you need it in other games. And then under objectives, you can look at your main missions and side missions, and the side missions start to add up really fast, especially when you check all the emails and you pick up transcribes and so forth. And the main missions are an important part in the story, not like in other games where you basically can skip them. I think you can probably skip them here, but then the game will be very short and will be disappointing. The ending will be disappointing, and then you have to go back and restart it again or whatnot. So I definitely highly recommend doing the side missions, as many as you can. And besides the objective and the map, we have the inventory, of course, the neuromodes, the status, and data that you're collecting, and that is important in continuing the story. So if we're looking at the inventory, you can see there's actually a lot of stuff that you can put in, but you also can upgrade the inventory so you have more room, but you constantly will find yourself shuffling things around to make room, get rid of stuff you don't want. For example, you can dismantle guns to make spare parts from it, and spare parts are good to repair stuff. You pick up food that you can eat in case you don't have med packs. If you don't have med packs, you can use one of the operators. I'm talking about this in a bit, but you can see you can basically just check if you have any duplicates. There's currently a bug where it doesn't stack some of the items, and that's a little bit frustrating. I tried tossing them and picking them up again. I tried recycling them. I tried everything. It doesn't really fix the bug. So that's a little bit frustrating, but it's not too bad if you just upgrade your inventory. You should never really have a problem running out of room. I never really did. And in another tab, which I haven't opened here, you can actually also upgrade your suit chipsets and scope chipsets. So you can add chips to your suit to actually give you more powers, more resistance. It's very cool. The more you have, the better, of course. And then we have the neuromodes. They are very important. That's where everyone always wants to find neuromodes. You find them. You can also fabricate neuromodes But at the beginning, you're just gonna have to hope you find some, and they're very sparse at the beginning, and then you get more, and you can basically upgrade the human abilities, and then you can get some alien abilities. But when you get alien abilities, you start slowly turning into an alien, and then in the spaceship, the turrets, for example, start attacking you because they think you're an alien, and that's not so much fun. So I was basically upgrading only a few minor alien abilities and powers, and mostly upgraded my human abilities and powers, and I was able to just get through the ship just fine. And then you have this like favorites wheel or weapon wheel, whatever you can call that, and you can pull that up really fast during the game and look all your weapons and power-ups and everything you have. So basically we have grenades with special charges and effects, pistol, shotgun, Q-beam, glue cannon, wrench, hunter's bowcaster, stun gun, and psycho powers that you can pull from the menu. And the longer you play this game, the more you realize that you can actually run by a lot of the enemies, and it's sometimes wiser to avoid the really big enemies, especially because ammunition can get scarce, and then you also are low in health and everything, and in front of you is probably some loot that can help you restock your inventory. And so just run by and avoid them all, and it saves you a lot of headaches. So what kind of enemies are there really? Well, we have the greater mimics, which are those spider-like thingies. They are super fast, and they can kill you also super fast, and it's better to take them out with the wrench if you can, instead of wasting a lot of ammo on them. And then we have different phantoms with different powers. For example, this electro phantom here that can electrocute you and take you down in less than a second if you're not careful, so you kind of have to avoid his charges. And I have found myself a lot of times being so overwhelmed by too many enemies, because here there are mimics a lot of times that come with the phantoms, and you have to kind of make sure that you cover your back and just don't have them attack from behind, and then you have to decide which weapon to use, which power to use. And you don't always have a wide variety of choices, especially if you're out of like shotgun ammo shells, for example, or you don't have any power left, or you're super low on health. There are so many factors that decide how you're gonna approach an enemy, or if you even actually are gonna approach an enemy. But the good thing is, if you do kill one of those bigger enemies, you always get some really nice loot from them. And then a little farther into the game, you can actually use the scanner to scan enemies, and it will tell you what their weaknesses are, so you know what to choose to kill them, because a lot of times you think you can take them down with something and they're totally resistant against it, so it helps a lot to know what their weaknesses are. And then you also have this disruptor stun gun here, which I barely use, but it is pretty helpful against humans that are mind controlled, because they can be very deadly if you don't take them down. And if you end up smelling too much like an alien, which can happen really fast as soon as you start acquiring some alien powers, then the ship turrets start mistaking you for an alien, for an enemy basically, and start attacking you. And they can take down your health really, really fast. So I found out that the recycle charges usually work really well. You basically just recycle them with one of those recycle grenades, and then you can pick up all the materials to then use later on to build and craft and fabricate stuff. As you can see here, I have the turrets nicely recycled into all kinds of different minerals that I can use to craft stuff. But your best friend is definitely the glue cannon, as it's very versatile. You can put out fires like so, but you can also disable enemies, and best of all, you can build stairs. And then you also have the hunter's bowcaster, which is not really a weapon because it doesn't kill anything, destroy anything. It's basically used to do the following, as you can see right here. You can, if I could do this, let me equip it. Here it is. I have used this thing maybe twice in the whole game. So you can basically use it to trigger buttons through a window or a computer button or anything if you can't reach it. So besides the phantoms and mimics and mind-controlled humans, you experience some enemies that you better leave alone and run from. For example, that poltergeist here, because this thing is invisible and it can attack you from any side, and because you can't see it, you never know where it's coming from, and it can actually kill you if you're not careful, even though it's kind of fun when it lifts you up in the air and it makes it possible for you to get to higher places. Any other enemy to avoid is definitely the nightmare, because this thing can haunt you once in a while through the whole game, and it will always warn you and you always have time to run away from it. Besides that, I was just a little bit stupid here and couldn't help but stare at it, and it got me, but it didn't kill me. So I'm just gonna hide out here in a room and wait until the nightmare stops haunting me, and that's usually about 2.5 minutes, which is quite long. And what's also very cool in this game is that you don't just need to have med packs to heal yourself. You can also go and visit one of those medical offices here, or basically go to the doc and say, hey, please heal me, and the doc will listen to you and will get you back to full health very, very quickly. And that's something I made a lot of use of, and I'm pretty sure every other gamer makes use of too. You can always run back to the doc and have him heal you, and then continue taking down enemies.
Nothing life-threatening. Try to relax. Good as new. You can fill out a service.
Then we also have the engineering operator, which can fix your suit, and the science operator, which can fill up your psyche so you can take out enemies again. But you can also get your psycho back to full if you just drink some water from any of those water coolers. That's something I learned later in the game. And then we have key code doors, tons and tons of doors which you need key cards or key codes for. And you're constantly on the search for those. Sometimes you find those key cards on people, sometimes on aliens, sometimes they're hidden somewhere in a drawer, on a bedside table, something, but you're always on the hunt, because that opens the doors and it makes your way free to explore the ship further. And a lot of times there are side missions that are behind a locked door, and that's something that's always on your mind through the game. And what's also constantly on your mind are recyclers and fabricators. I was looking for those all the times. That actually helps you free up inventory slots, and it also gives you all those nice minerals that you can then use to build and craft stuff, like for example shotgun bullets, med kits, neuromodes, anti-rats, all kinds of things, and even sometimes parts you need for a mission. So that's the thing that I think I use the most in this game, more often than even any weapon. Another thing that makes this game so great is that, for example, when you need key cards for doors that you can usually get from dead bodies or other locations, you can often get around without a key card, just finding another way into that room, and you'd be surprised how often that's actually possible. But of course, it's very exciting if you actually do find a key card that grants you access to this room that was previously unavailable to you, and you can finally find something that you were looking for so long. And then there are always computers everywhere. Some of them are locked, some of them are unlocked, and you can basically download maps, you can transfer files. There are emails that you should always read, because you never know if there's a password in the email or some kind of hint, or you will actually get a mission from one of those emails. And then you can also open and close doors and so forth. But if you should not have the passcode for a computer, for example, you can hack your way in. The same goes for turrets and anything else you can hack. I found hacking sometimes very frustrating, that a lot of times I gave up and tried to find another way. But if you do succeed in hacking, it's of course very satisfying. And not all hacking is the same. Some of it is easy and some of it is extremely hard. But once you're in, you then have access to a wealth of information. So it's always worth it to find a way in any of those computers that you see standing around. So the only gripe I had with this game is, like, if you want to get to another level or another area on the ship, which is the same, you sit there waiting for the level to load, and I timed it and it actually takes exactly 1.6 minutes, and that's just super long. And I don't know if it's because I played this off the Xbox hard drive and I should probably have played off an external hard drive, which is known to be a little faster. I don't know, but I've watched some other videos, some pre-videos, and I saw that everyone else had a really long waiting time here, and that was very frustrating. And I know that that's probably not something that the developers can fix, because it needs to load a lot of elements, because this game is so extensive. So I totally get that. I'm just saying it is frustrating, especially if you have to go through 4 levels just to get to one thing, and then get back 4 levels to get back to where you have to apply that thing that you found. So it's a lot of waiting time, and it makes you play a lot longer than you want to and just sit around instead of actually playing. But other than that, this game is absolutely amazing. I would not be surprised if this would make Game of the Year. It's definitely one of the best science fiction games that I played, and I'm not even a fan really of science fiction games. But if they have a lot of realistic elements to it, then I usually look into it. So look at that, we're still loading. I've been talking a lot, and we finally get that button that we were waiting for so long. So to wrap up this video, I just wanted to say that, and you probably already guessed it, I highly recommend this game if you don't mind spending a lot of hours on it, and if you don't mind puzzle games, if you don't mind sci-fi games, if you love first-person games, if you love fun weapons, great missions, awesome story. It's got everything. So I definitely think this game has a good chance of becoming Game of the Year, or at least it's gonna be best games of 2017 and probably ranked like very high up. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I hope I see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
It's time to beat the mind game. And now